Lovely take and turn by Grant. He's right between two defenders. Grant jinks, shoots high. Wonderful goal, Colin Grant. That's an absolutely top draw strike by Huddersfield Town's January signing.
All around me are familiar faces, worn out places, worn out faces, bright and early for the daily races, going nowhere, going nowhere.
Christopher Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance.
Welcome back, you brave, tortured, alleged adulterers, you. After a short break, Andy takes that chances back to disprove the Jonah theory and blame everything on the Instagram kid. Coming up, we'll discuss the Bournemouth and West Ham games, I'll froth at some of the senior pros on the books, Kosi talks overhaul, and Neil chats about the impact relegation will have on the support next season. And we'll also, as usual, let you set the further agenda. Faithful to the podcast and faithful to you, I'm of course joined by the aforementioned Neil and Kosi.
Good evening.
Hi, Matt.
Whereas Danny is potentially playing away this evening, I'm of course referring to that tragic story run by The Sun or some other red top rag that says, based on a small survey, that 69% of Huddersfield Town fans cheat on their partner. Shame on you all.
There were a bit of cheating on partners, defensive partners on Saturday, looking at some of that footage. Yeah, Mr. Congolo. Yeah, we'll mention
Of
no
course, I'm just kidding. Stupid story, but
bizarre story, but it good to see us at top of the league for one set.
Perhaps that's the 21st century journalism that Blake was telling us about a couple of months ago. Maybe that we don't understand. Okay, so I think we'll start with my question that we put out on Twitter this week, as I don't think I could talk about the two games without trampling all over this, so if I may, guys. So we put out a tweet yesterday on the Andy Takes That Chance podcast Twitter profile, and it says, for me, the elder senior pros are massively letting the younger players, manager and supporters down. The attitude from them is dreadful. I'd be looking to move the vast majority of them on and hope Jan Sievert has a few leaders up his sleeve for the summer. And any thoughts on that? So, a few things are starting to fit into place a bit more for me, guys, with regards to a lot of things. And the bad performances that we're seeing. We're now used to seeing Jan Sievert froth, rage, be unhappy at pretty much every post-match interview. And through his frothing after Bournemouth, he's constantly repeating, this is not my football, this is not my football. And previous to that, in the interview that he did prior to Bournemouth, one thing that was quite telling and quite strange was that Tommy Smith was obviously not stripped of the captaincy, but it was given to Schindler. And some of the comments that he made over and over again was that we need more leaders on the pitch and we need more people who take responsibility for our squad. And he made that point several times, which to me set a couple of alarm bells going, prior to the Bournemouth game.
Yeah.
We've got people in this squad who've played Champions League football, they've played World Cups, they've played top divisions with hundreds of appearances between them. And for me, they're just not taking responsibility on the field. Several of them look like they've downed tools. And for me, this lack of leadership in the squad and on the field can only have a detriment to younger players such as Philip Billing, for example, who seems to be bearing the brunt of most things despite not being a senior pro. He's not a natural leader. He needs people around him to lead. I'm starting to think that some of them have moves lined up for next season already. The agents have been
Don't think there's any doubt
going
on
at
that
it
whatsoever.
And I'm really, really disappointed with some of them. And for me, Neil, it's tarnishing almost a hero legacy of what they provided last season. Last season, there was so many heroes, so many memories. Fantastic, And some of these players are now, with what they've been up to, if you like, the last couple of months, they're now starting to really sort of tarnish that. And for me, a lot of them are going to leave in the summer, and people are going to be saying, thank God for him, I don't like him. Yeah. And there's going to be some unpopular players there, and they should have been heroes.
Yeah, I think everything you've just said's sadly very true. I think a lot of them are very evidently down tools. When you've got when you're relying on kids like Bakuna to be on there and sort of leading it and leading the charge and getting in amongst the fight.
He's been fantastic.
He's been excellent.
When I say senior pros, I'm looking at 27 years of
No,
age
what
plus.
I'm saying is when you're looking at people like Bakuna,
They shouldn't be leading.
who's having to take that mantle because those around him have gone into the shell.
That's the flip side of what I've said. The good thing, what you've just said, Neil, the good thing of that is people are stepping up. So Bakuna has stepped up. For me, Bakuna's been really, really good the last sort of 4 to 8 weeks. And he was the one player I thought should have been Player of the Month, or was in with a shout, if you like, of Player of the Month last month. For me, he's been great, and he was great against West Ham.
I think it's hard to single Lossell out too negatively because, keepers make mistakes, but he's, generally speaking, says the right thing, does the right thing, and when you're behind that 10 every week, that's got to be quite a dismal job, to be fair on it.
We'll come back to Jonas Lossell later, but there are a number of different issues, Kosi, that we've seen over the course of the season, and sometimes when these stories come out, they come out from all over the place, and you kind of just think, yeah, whatever, sometimes they seem to be pretty random. Lossell, for example, dropped at the start of the season, they reckon fitness issues for a goalkeeper. Little bit unsure about that, but to be fair to Jonas Lossell, Neil, he's still turning in performances of which are decent, and he won the Blue and White Foundation Player of the Month last month.
And rightly so.
Zanka, the comments from Denmark's head coach seem to have made his head implode, to be honest.
What did you expect though, lads? Sorry, but it was obvious this was going to happen for me. And this is football, a football where morals and giving your best every day, like with most people I would hopefully say do in their workplace, that doesn't happen. This is what obvious to me was going to happen. Sievert has ruffled a few feathers by, he's been very direct with his, post-match stuff, with his selections. There's guys that are out of contract. The team are losing every week. People have... I knew this was going to happen, me. I don't know why I'm surprised. I know what you're saying, Neil, that you should want everyone to give the best and bust it up, but there were always going to be winners and losers. There were going to be people who stepped up that we've seen, but
I think this started before Sievert for me.
Yeah, maybe.
With some
Well, you
of
look
them. I
at-
think
when the writing were on the wall.
I mean, Zanka all season terrible.
That's for David Wagner.
All season terrible.
And of course, let's mention the story that in the when I mentioned Kosi, one of the stories that were quite peculiar and came out in the summer was that apparently Depoitre wanted to leave because he was homesick. And you look at that and you think, nah, a load of rubbish. But the way he's played since makes you think, well, maybe there is some truth in that.
Yeah.
Depoitre, Van La Parra fell out with David Wagner and seems to have disappeared off the face of the earth at Middlesbrough. The purely.
I think Kosi's right in that. I think this were always likely to happen when Sievert took over purely because of what he is doing and ruffling a few feathers and swapping things. But my point is, I think it started long before Sievert took over.
I think for me, someone like Aaron Moy, I don't think, I don't want to question his kind of commitment and ethic because he can kind of be deceptive, but he knows he's going to get another club. He's kind of put on the bench bizarrely for me against Brighton. You always think, well, there's people playing for like moves next season, but it feels like to me like a lot of stuff's been done already. Like you say, Matt, that
I think it's done and dusted.
done and
these
dusted.
guys are just
these guys know that they've got clubs signed up. So I've got to be honest, I'm a bit cynical, but I just thought this is what we would get, and I'm really hoping that
think the
we've seen
disappointing
some
thing-
positives, and we have. Obviously, we've seen one or two that will come. We'll
The
probably
disappointing
talk
thing,
about
though,
later,
Kosi, is last season these players were giving everything for the shirt.
but we were it's different then, though. We were on a roll. We were still fighting to stay up. Things are different. You're arriving at work, we're dead.
And these players are captains, they're leaders. They have been captains and leaders for years. And you just feel disappointed and let down by some of the performances that we're getting. I feel let down by some of the performances. Not everybody. Aaron Moy, to me, again, I don't look at Aaron Moy as much of a leader. He just kind of quietly does his thing.
He's just a good footballer.
Good footballer.
He's not one who's going to start screaming and shouting at everybody and getting amongst players on pitch. He plays his game, doesn't he?
He does. And to be honest, I hate digging players out by name, but it's just got to the stage now where I'm just fed up of some of the performances, and you just feel like, what what these guys are giving is unfair. And you could see Jan Ziver against Brighton. He was absolutely apoplectic with how we switched off on that free kick. Okay, Kosi, you were thinking, maybe we didn't deserve a point, which is fair enough. But he was furious because people have travelled so far to watch that. And then these guys have just switched off.
But on the flip side of all that negativity about all these senior ones who have continually let us down over a period of time now, I like the fact that he's leaving some of them out very clearly and chucking in Grant, Bacuna, Rowe. Give the. Let's see Daly start a game. I want to see these lads in the last 6 or 7 games get some minutes in, because if we never see likes of Zanka and Depatra in a Town shirt again, let's be fair, it's too soon anyway.
I wasn't on board with that initially, but now I'm seeing things, and now you're kind of hearing and putting things together. I'm completely with you. I do not want to see some.
I'd rather lose 7 games with these lads getting some minutes and learning than lose 7 games watching other ones go through motions.
Some fans were tweeting me when I was sticking up for him. Really did me head in, especially after Bournemouth. Did some fans really think that he were going to come in? David Wagner, the king of Huddersfield, could not change what we were doing. He'd been handed one striker from League One, ironically, being one of our better men. And did really people think we were going to burst and win 4 games out of 7 or 5 games? It was always going to be for me like this. Yeah, we want.
I think there was a hope, because it wasn't that once we got Moy back, once we got Billing back, once we got some players back from injury.
The guy's trying his best, though. You can see it's not like he's just kept with the status quo. He's really trying to mix it up.
Criticising Sievert, though.
No, but some people are. I can't believe it. I know you're going to get the odd fruit, but it's like people saying I could see no different, and I knew that people would start to compare it to Wagner coming in and in the Championship with the same players, and then you could see immediately that impact. We talked about the game against Hull and the game against Middlesbrough, and then obviously stuff Sheffield Wednesday and stuff. I never believed that we're gonna, as much as I'd love to it happen, we're playing in the Premier League where it's 100% ruthless, and we could have expected a bit better, but I can't blame any of that for Sievert. 16-game pre-season we got, that's what we've got. We've had a bit of fun against Wolves. Saturday were fun.
Rightly or wrongly, I almost look at Saturday, even though we lost a 3-1 lead, I almost look at that positively in the fact that we've gone away from home, he's playing these kids, we've bagged 3, and we've scored. I mean, to be fair, we've scored. That second goal of Grant's is
from
worthy
what we had
Premier
against
League all day
Bournemouth
long.
7 days before, Neil. It was an incredible turnaround.
Absolutely. So there's on the flip side of it all, there are a lot of positives to look at, and if he goes about the next 6 or 7 games, let's be fair, behind the scenes, he knows pretty much already. I reckon he knows who's going to stay out of that squad, who he wants to stay out of that squad, and those who he wants to bring in.
My point really about the senior pros was that they're letting Sievert down, Kosi.
Of course they are.
In my opinion, these are what, when you go 3-1 up at West Ham, what do you need to see that game out?
Your puncheons, etc., to come on and.
But Premier League, this is the Premier League. West Ham, you could say that I bet their players were, they looked like they were letting them down. They were on the beach. They were not bothered. They couldn't care less. It were only a bit of shocking defending from us that got back in it. It's everywhere. It's rife. This is football today. Players, they're not bothered. They've got other contracts. They don't care about Huddersfield, mate. They've signed up already for next season, and then why should they bust a gut and risk an injury when they're probably signed already? Yeah, that some of them think like Depatra, who was mentioning there, and Zanka, that person we were talking up, kind of last season. What an improvement he made! Such, when we'd signed him, he was a captain, wasn't he, at Copenhagen, and that's what we were purring about. We had a team of leaders.
I think Zanka's been dreadful all season, to be fair. I think he's come back with a serious case of Billy Big Nuts after World Cup, scored a goal, did okay for Denmark over there, and I think he's come back and
got Danish Player of the Year, didn't he?
Yeah, he's listened to all hype.
Best I can say about him, he joined the wave after we beat them Wolves, which were, when he wasn't even involved. That's probably the only positive I can say about him. But Jan, this is what I'm liking to see. Jan's getting in there. He's saying stuff. I know some people are kind of raising eyebrows from his real direct.
Let's be fair.
Kind of comments.
A month ago, there wouldn't be many people in 20-odd thousand in that ground who would even heard of Rowe. And to be fair, he probably wasn't even on thoughts at first team until he bagged that couple against Bradford behind closed doors.
Do you think? Because I knew as soon as
thrust in, and why not?
As soon as I defended him, because I'm really liking kind of some of the stuff that he's doing, even though the results are pretty much the same. But I knew I'd get a couple of tweets back, and he had no other option. What else? It's kind of a free hit and stuff like that. But I just think I don't know. I think it's an easy thing to say that in here and that as well. Well, what do you expect? You've got to throw the kids in. You haven't got that pressure. But would Wagner have done that? I don't think he would.
No.
I really don't. So I think it's brave what he's doing. And
It is.
Yeah, and it's an easy thing I think just to say that.
I'm going to support him in doing that as well, because these players are letting him down, and he needs to build for next year. You know, these players that have got moves lined up, just bin them.
Well, it's like I said,
them in the bin.
I'd much prefer him to say. Rather see Dehaney, Daly, Rowe, Grant, anybody else that wants to come out from under 21s, under 23s. I'd rather see them come and play at last 7 games, give everything they've got and learn about senior football than watch all those who are going to clear off, go through motions.
I think the only
there's a way to lose, isn't there?
100%.
The only frustrating for me, Neil, and I thought on Saturday were very evident. I know, and people might laugh and think, what a difference would they make? But I think we are really lacking. Look like we had wide players galore at the start of the season. We've got none now, and Benson and Diakabi. I thought against West Ham they could have gone to town. We could have, and then we scored 3 goals. It's a shame we're not really seeing them, and I don't know how far they're off getting fit, to be honest with you. But
could be back. Both of them could be back for the next game on the 30th. Apparently,
I just think if they're kind of the ammunition, everything's kind of going a bit central, and
we'd started to see some good stuff from Diakabi after we'd.
To be fair though, I mean, if they both get fit, I'm only actually bothered about seeing Diakabi because he's ours. There's not a lot of point in chucking and Benz in for 5 or 6 when you've got. I'd rather see Daly and Rowe get.
I'm not sure what's going to happen with. I'm not sure what's happening with Benza because.
Well, we're not going to pay money, are we, in summer?
I don't know, but I don't know if we're already committed because the transfers of Lursel, Hadajanai, Kachunga were all based on if he makes X appearances, the move gets triggered. I don't know what.
Well, Benza can't have played. Has he played 10 games?
Yeah, he's played quite a few, and so it all depends on what it is. We may be obligated to actually pay the money for him.
I don't think there's any obligation. I think we can. I think we've got an option. But an option's a lot different to an obligation.
But this is how it was worded on every other player. But we were obligated, despite it saying option. So that's what I'm saying.
We need pace, guys, in our team. We need pace in the team. In the top level, pace hurts people. Grant's got a bit of yard pace, as you saw with his goal on Saturday.
It does. I've just been loath to spend.
But no, I totally agree with you on that as well. So
and
I just think Bournemouth beat us with pace. Fraser destroyed us. You know, it was just like. You knew that they had them weapons. We've not got that, and to me, we've got to find the weapons for next year.
I destroyed us that day.
Yeah, but that's what I just don't think he's going to sign Mbenza. Diakabi, I mean, you haven't seen much of him. But
he's ours, isn't he? He's quick, and at that level, you've got to hope that he's going to be decent.
Yeah, match winners. We haven't got many of them. We need some more.
Not bothered if we don't see Sobby. I don't think Sobby will come back anyway.
No, I
forgot about him. Yeah,
I don't think
17 appearances Mbenza has played so far.
I bet he hasn't played more than 4 games if you had it all up though.
Yeah. Remember that cross against Burnley, Neil? Remember the good times,
man. one cross. Oh no, he had a decent shot against
Tottenham.
Tottenham.
For one cross, yeah.
He's played a total of 694 minutes.
So
that's this is showing our maths up here, but again, it's based on appearances. But anyway, we'll go back. So further on that point, so we've put that out to Twitter, so let's hear what people think. So Freddie Cocker says he 100%
7.5 games.
7.5. Good maths, Neil. 100% agree. I'd keep Hogg and Schindler, but the rest of the senior players can go if it's an option. Was really disappointed with Smith's post-match comments on Radio Leeds, full of platitudes and empty words. He's the club captain, you expect more. I didn't hear the post-match. No, I didn't hear that.
I was inebriated.
I was
in Leeds.
Not giving 7, Yeah. Tom Butcher, some good ones from Tom. Zanka is the worst culprit, gets caught out of position time and again, then recovers with a walk or a jog. That's what made me froth against Bournemouth. Lazy, appalling attitude. You only need a couple like him in a squad when things aren't going well, and you're done for. You can add Punchin, Mounier, Depoitre, Billion, and Hadajanai. Some people would justifiably add others too. Fortunately, I think we've seen enough in this short tenure to suggest Sievert won't stand for it next season, and that's what you were saying as well, Kosi, that Yang gets fired into them. Anthony Gummersel says Lerver tries his best and would be good to keep as a left back. Chris Lerver I was disappointed with on the 4th goal for West Ham, but Chris Lerver over the course of the season has been one of the senior pros who does stand up when it comes to it. He's given us 3 good years. And one of my favourites, so John Smith at Cup Lake Cake says, I'm going to go against the majority here last season. The senior players showed they had the desire and determination to stay up. I think the constant losses unfairly earlier on in the season have ground the team down till it has broken. Players haven't actively given up.
I totally agree. I did wonder which way it would go. The December, we always go back to that big December where, you know, me and Neil have always said it, we're kind of done after Southampton and that as well. And then it's kind of, you know, there's only so many times you can lose before the heads go down, and it's just, yeah, it's been interesting. Someone like Alex Pritchard is an interesting one for me, because he would talk about, you know, senior players, and he's not that old, is he? But
25, he kind of crossed.
But I look at that guy and think, it's frustrating because obviously not delivered what we want him to do, but the guy just gives every ounce of energy and effort. He runs around, he chases, maybe it's sometimes daft energy waste, but I look at that guy and I find it hard to knock kind of Pritchard when, you know, we kind of could mention other people and that as well. Bakuno's obviously stood out, but Pritchard, he's one I certainly won't put in that down tools senior player category and that as well.
He's not on my down tools list, no.
No, and he must be so frustrated because he's been played everywhere, to be honest with you, where... You know.
If we're playing 4-3-3 next season, he's going to have to find a niche somewhere in that. That's one thing. I think he can. Championships is level for me.
It's his level, and at that level, he's very good as well.
What he also says, Kosi, is it is analogous to a great boxer who has taken too many hits and punishment, a shell, which is why we're going to see a new team rise, Town 2.0. So I like that. And there's a really good one from Judith Stevenson as well. It's a really, really good point. And she says that I don't think that the players have given up, but have been worn down by 2 years of fighting the odds. This season they have had to take some really tough calls going against them in very important games. As a team, we aren't good enough. That's different to not trying. And I think that's genuinely a really, really good tweet. But I do think some of them have stopped.
So they have now. There's no shadow. There's no doubt about it.
Not until the last month.
No.
Tom Bradshaw. Tom's worth a follow. Some great illustrations that he does. He said, what said a lot to me on Saturday was how we were bossing the game with the youngsters, then we were forced to make 3 changes for players who've made loads more Premier League appearances than the lads replaced, and we just capitulated. Very disappointed in the lads that came on. One of them was Jason Punchin, who himself has had a run-in with Jan Zivert. I'm surprised to see him back, to be honest, but I think it's due to lack of numbers why we did see that. But, you know, he's missed a sitter at the end as well, so didn't go great for JP, but, you know, sometimes you forgive and forget, don't you? Graham Rayner says, yep, the one that said it all was Grant off for Mounier. We lost our outball and lost us the game. Mac Terrier says, Grant is always on the turn, like Vardy and Wilson. Defenders are scared. Moody and Depoitre always have their backs to the goal and are usually stationary. Chris Hewson dived in with that and says, you make him sound like a pot of natural yoghurt. Claire Hill says, I'd keep Schindler, Hogg and Lerver. Also, Lussell as keeper. I think you might be disappointed in
I think there's
a
only
couple
Hogg
of
that'll
those.
still be here with that.
Lerver, I think, for another 12 months possibly.
I think he'll go back to Germany.
He's got 12 months on his contract. I think he might see out, but I won't be surprised either if he went. Must be frustrating for the younger players who are clearly fighting not only for the club, but to also prove themselves as players to not be supported by more senior pros. Bedmeister says, people all seem to think we'll just keep hold of Hogg, but I have a feeling Burnley will come knocking. Williams could be a good replacement, but is he jinxed or just been unlucky and now ready to shine?
It's a good point, is that, because if you think of our, you know, kind of good days, and even last season, I mean, obviously the Wolves one spring to mind, not many of them about, but he was really touted in Match of the Day too. Remember Danny's video, what he kind of, you know, doctored. But last season, I think anyone who knows the football, especially, you know, scouts and people there, Johnny Hogg is a key. You know, man, that's a great shout. Is that from Rich there? Because I think, yeah, we all assume because of his loyalty, but yeah, if someone comes a knocking, maybe we Burnley go down to that.
Well, Jonathan Hogg plays only for us. Graham says, Watford been there before, and would. I'm not sure what he's put there.
Does he fancy going around the block again? This is the thing for me.
Things with Hogg as well. He came to Huddersfield for a reason, to get near home.
Yeah,
so he lives in
his
Middlesbrough.
home's in Middlesbrough. Yeah, so I think unless Middlesbrough or someone equidistant to Huddersfield comes in, where Burnley is a valid.
He's a Pulis man, but I don't see him surviving if they don't get up. But
no, I don't either.
No, I think he's off. HTAFC Dream says, I really like Jan Sievert, I think he's focused, hungry, sharp, and see the attacking game he wants. I think he deserves to offload who he wants and bring in who he wants, so that's in support of what you said there, Kosi. Eddie Hoyle, Haircut Club, says they've been a huge letdown. The going got tough this season and they bottled it. Zanka and Dipoitre are the biggest culprits for me. I think the squad overall are missing Hef. His character was obvious to everyone over the last couple of seasons. He was ideal with the younger players. However, I've got every faith in Jan Sievert to address this issue next season. I'm looking forward to it. Then we had George.
I'm looking forward to a couple of months off.
Do you know, I'd like a season off.
One thing I want to shout out about Saturday, and again, I've always liked Manuel Pellegrini, the guy, a class act. But after the game, as soon as the whistle went, Sievert looked an absolute bro. If we thought we were good, he was absolutely devastated. But Pellegrini, his face, he knew he'd robbed us. And I don't know what he whispered in, but it were almost like, keep your chin up, mate. We didn't deserve that. I just thought it was total class. He there's an experienced manager, been everywhere, won everything pretty much, and kind of just looking after his kind of younger coach and that. So I thought that was just a class touch.
I've got inside on what he actually said to him here.
Oh, right, okay.
He actually said to him, what was Tommy Smith doing leaving Hernandez in a free header?
Neil, I thought you actually had it then.
I know, I said that with a straight delivery as well.
Just destroyed that praise from Manuel.
Absolutely, Jeff Boycott straight back there as well. Well done. So we've had George Estros, 92, who's got in touch. He said Zanka thinks he's bigger than the club and reckons he can do better at a better team. Tommy Smith's level is League One. Can't pass, can't talk, can't read the game, can't lead the team. Won't take responsibility, no end product. How is he club captain?
I'll counter that with 2 years ago, Championship right back player of the year.
And second top of the assist charts.
So let's just...
Agree to disagree.
Good enough for Premier League?
No.
Probably not. Championship? Definitely.
Dale Marsden says shadow of the player who was in the Championship is Smith. I think people forget how good Smith was at the end of last season as well, whereby David Wagner needed a go-to defender. He brought Smith in for Man City and Chelsea away, and he was excellent.
And let's remember, it's much say it's not the same players in the Championship. Not many of them are, because they're not good enough for this level. Exactly. And get back to the Championship. Tommy Smith. If Tommy Smith's still in our squad next season, starting that season Championship, I'll be happy.
I'll be happy as well. I just hope he's not been scarred too
much. As long as
he's
he's not been scarred by it so much,
Matt S, similar name to me, says many of the senior players have not shown the desire, passion or fight to play for the club this season when staying in the Premier League was still a possibility. I can't see that improving in a lower league. Agreed that an overhaul in some personnel is needed, and Jan Sievert brings in new.
I think what's interesting, and kind of nicking my tweet and that as well, but it's joining it together because it's all very linked. Sievert really his comments last week were really interesting. He kind of said that the next season it could be a massive change. He kind of hinted at that as well. So it's almost like, to me, he's maybe had some chats with again, I'm only guessing, but he's maybe had some chats with a few players, or is it just judgment on training ground and things like that as well? It were almost like he were prepared for us to say, look, get used to it. There's going to be massive changes next year, where as we've come into this bad run, part of me is thinking, well, it doesn't need a major overhaul, but it's almost like Sievert hinted that it does. So is that his choice, or is that, guys, like we were saying, Schindler, what have you seen? Sorry, Gaffer, but I kind of don't want to go around the block again in 46 games, or Championship, not for me. I want to go back. It was a really interesting comment, and he's good. His interviews are really good. You do get a kind of more interesting quotes than probably Wagner does. And that intrigued me, did that one. And
well, let's link in what Eggclough says. I've got little faith in the manager, just saying you did ask. But David Siddle, linking into that, says, the bigger issue is the lack of leadership in the transfer policy. If you are a senior pro coming off a good World Cup in a team that needs goals, and you don't bring in any quality, what message does that send? It's all well and good talking about an overhaul, but who leads it? Where is the director of football? I think is what he's saying. And again, we ask that, don't we, every week, what's happening with the director of football? I'm sure it's all in hand, but obviously because the club...
It needs to be, because
if it's not...
That is a crucial point. Yeah, it's an important point that needs addressing, doesn't it? Because we've never really recovered, and I know you don't particularly agree with this, but we've never really recovered from Webber leaving, because we've not really replaced him as such. Moss came, stayed 20 minutes. Rebbe came. He's had a lot of slating as Rebbe, but let's be honest, none of us really know just how much input he had into transfers at that particular point.
Not a lot, I don't think.
But either way, we haven't had somebody permanent in there doing the job long enough to get settled, to get the right people in, and we're now 2 months away from transfer window opening again.
That's what worries me, because forget about the window opening. Deals are being done now. Let's not be naive. There's deals being done.
I fully appreciate that.
Where's our
You
plan?
can start talking in January. So
if we go panic mode again in summer, and there's nobody really leading it other than Seaver, who has got zero knowledge of Championship football and its demands, etc., etc. I'm not saying he ain't going to be right. What I'm saying is his experience over here. And let's be honest, his experience in signing players full stop coming from Dortmund's second team
zero, isn't it?
is going to be slim to none.
I think what worries me, Neil, is just silence coming from the club. You know, maybe we've been spoilt in recent times with Dean Hall, you know, messages left, right and centre, but I'm kind of... It's only Jan Sievert who's coming out with the things. What's happening behind the scenes? Where's the plan? We're hearing about the season cards being sold. We know that. But what is the plan? When's the director of football coming? Is there going to be a takeover?
Is there going to be a director of football?
Yeah, is the new... If we get taken over, is Sievert going to... To me, there's all kinds of...
There is one big, massive question mark hovering like a black cloud, isn't there?
There is. But, you know,
There is.
What is happening? Are we going to get a takeover? Like, you know, it's big rumours. And then post Sievert, it's like, you know how these things work. Sorry, pal, we've got our own ideas, and then we're back to square one. I've got a lot of sympathy with Sievert at the moment and that as well, because
I feel sorry for him.
No director of football, not armed with a squad that a lot of them have down tools.
Injuries left, right, centre as well.
But you can feel it's like passion, and I really kind of like he's stamping his own authority on there. But my God, he needs help in a lot of ways.
He wants this job and he wants to make it successful. You can see he's
hungry for
burning.
It.
You know, I quite like the guy. A lot of things. A lot of what he says isn't happening on the pitch, but I think these are things out of his control. But
I just hope he don't go the same way as Lee Clark went.
Signed 40 midfielders.
just in the young, inexperienced, eager, up for it, gets crowd behind him, etc.
This is why you need that director.
And then ultimately fails. He desperately needs that link. But who is that link going to be to?
Well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? But until we hear anything concrete, then all we hear is speculation from numerous sources. So we'll gloss over that. But yes, so the director of football is something that definitely needs sorting. So Stuart Webber, so since 2017, Stuart Webber was on gardening leave from January to May. I'm not going to repeat why or the allegation as to why he was on gardening leave so early, and the whole things about leaving through the back door that David Wagner talked about. David Moss was here for 2 months. Olaf Rebbe for, again, 3. So, no, it needs somebody with a plan at director football level to then...
Ideally, they need to be going and getting a director of football who's already in work at another club. And to be honest, we're going back to the Championship, preferably this country.
I can imagine Sievert, Neil, having a list.
I'd be looking at Brentford.
Sievert's got a list. There's my papers. Tick and a cross. Out, 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 out. In. There you go. There's my list. Now, we need gaps here and there. But who does he pass that bit of paper to now?
Yeah.
There's a recruitment
Dean
department. No, there's a recruitment department
Julian
headed
Winter?
up by Josh Marsh. He's the recruitment manager. So there is a recruitment team full of analysts. But again, they need a leader as well. I know Josh Marsh is the chief head of it, and he's quite young himself, and I'm not 100% sure if he's brilliant. You know, to be fair, we've slated the summer recruitment, but on the flip side, you've then got to look at Carl and Grant and say, you know what, Josh, etc. Team, well played on that one, excellent. So you got to be fair with both.
If you chuck enough mud though, what's going to stick in it?
And Bakuna as well. You can say Juninho Bakuna as well. So
I think Bakuna is a good signing. I just think it was signed at the wrong time for what we needed at that time.
Most of them were. I'm
not saying it's a wrong signing. I think he's going to be a good lad for us.
He's a good lad now. I think.
Yeah, he is. But at the time, we need a 20-year-old inexperienced midfielder from Dutch second division or whatever.
There's so much to like about Bakuna because
there is.
He's been moved all over the
feisty.
pitch.
I like
he's
how
playing
feisty.
Playing everywhere, playing out of position. But it's
He's an honourable little.
Yeah. Huddersfield public will always warm to, even if you're absolute dog dirt, a guy who really gets stuck in. This is a dying thing in the modern game now and that as well. But it's so beautiful to see, isn't it? And the guy really cares. And it can be obviously a bit of a history of discipline and what have you. And sometimes you're thinking, slow down, mate. But Christ,
things you can't take that out of players.
Some of the
If you take that out, you lose half at play.
Yeah.
The soft in Holland, he'll be fine in the Championship where he can lead.
He could become a real Huddersfield Town legend if he keeps going as he is.
He's doing really. It's not that. It's his touch out of his feet, which for me is the real sort of seal of quality.
Well, he's made himself a must pick.
Yeah. Man of the match on Saturday for me, definitely.
We'll finish off some of these tweets. So at HTFC Dream says, I was really struggling post Bournemouth. The lack of interest by some of the established players was unreal, especially midfield. If these 21-year-olds in our side are outrunning and carrying established pros, I was astonished. At Couplet, Kate comes in with a second point. We have the basic structure of a very good Championship team, even after selling the best players. A back four, Smith, Stankovic, Schindler, Lerver. It's close to what got promotion. Hogg, Bakuna and another. Matt Daly later.
Would you have Stankovic at the back?
No, I wouldn't. Because
I wouldn't.
his lack of strength, balance is a real worry to me. You look at that last West Ham goal and Samir Nasri's put him on the floor with his little toe, and that worries me a little bit, and his slow turn. But in front of a back four, that's not so bad.
No. So if Hogg, I suppose.
So as a shield in front of the back four, I quite like him.
Can't really have two shields, can we? It's
But
going
you
to be
can't
interesting.
have him or Hogg.
Yep.
You can't have him and Hogg.
So I wonder if the club would.
But you need two players for every position. And
Yeah.
To be fair, Hogg and Stankovic, you can't really get two better, can you, in the Championship? So Diakabi, Kachunga and O'Brien he mentions as well. Tanzanian Terrier says the perceived attitude of Zanka has been appalling. There's a lot of hate for Zanka at the minute, and which is sad to see because he was an absolute rock last season. Well, I've still got my voucher. I never reclaimed it. So Williams is injured. Novrell has been a liability injury-wise. Contract up. Hadjianai again disappointing since arriving permanently. I've not liked him from the start, which I've made clear. It's telling that when asked, Jan Zivert refuses to be drawn on which players will remain after the season. He says Billing thinks he's, as you said, Neil, Billy Big Nuts, but I don't really think that's the case so much with Billing. I just don't think he comes across very well speaking sometimes. I think he's a bit nervous, but... Watson says, I think that has been the problem for a while. The bigger and experienced characters haven't been replaced. Heffler, Whitehead, etc. Schindler's a quiet leader and Hogg can lose it sometimes. From the outside, it looks there's no calming vocal influence or high positive spirit. CJG Terrier says, hard to disagree. I expect a massive summer and one hell of a rebuild. Just thankful that players like Grant, Bakuna, Stankovic give us a basis to build around.
Yeah.
Which... Of all the negativity that we've got at the minute, the positivity coming out is that these players are standing up and they are giving us... You look at Swansea Kosi this season, and they've had such a mess. Graham Potter seems to be quite a good manager, and he's had such a mess to deal with there, and it's taken him a while to get to sort of realise what players work for him, what players don't. And what's good to see is that we've maybe shortened that process a little bit at the end of the season because we are seeing players standing up to be counted now.
Yeah, I suppose that's one of the benefits from, God, if you can call it that, being relegated 5 months before the end of the season, because you can, if we were still kind of flirting with stopping up, you would have to probably pick a different kind of team and that as well. And I don't, as much as I've applauded him for being brave, I don't think he would have gone that way. Obviously, we'll never know, but it's given that 16-game pre-season, it's given us as a look at maybe the future and. Yeah, that's the only benefit, I think, from being dead in the water like we were just before Christmas, where I think the other teams, kind of are having to go foot to the floor. For example, Burnley's a good example, but I hope they go down. They've got a shocking running and got big problems, but what happens if they go down? They're going to sell a lot of their key men and they've got no idea.
Got 3 quality goalkeepers, haven't they?
Yeah.
They're not all staying, are they?
No.
They'll cave one more.
Yeah, I don't think they'll stay next year.
It is a benefit, isn't it? But
no.
It's Swansea. They didn't look too bad on Saturday, did they? For long periods.
No, there's some players standing up there now. I think it's the guy that missed the penalty against West Brom. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's a
belter.
It's fantastic.
Selena. Yeah.
But he looks decent, and so does the guy that almost went to Leeds. Is it James? He looks a good player as well.
He's Stoke fans are surely expected to come back up. Swansea, obviously doing better than they've done. Swansea fans, it'd be an interesting one to chat to because they were in a bit more of a mess than.
They've got real ownership issues there of Swansea.
Yeah,
I think there's a bit more to it.
There was like that guy. They were desperate for him to go to Leeds, and because just to get him off the books, it sounds like they're in a real mess with
I think half of them wanted
kind
him
of
to
the
go
cash,
half,
really.
didn't they?
I think they overpaid for a lot of players and stuff. But I mean, God, moving stuff on. But Fulham had a guy. I couldn't believe it flashed on my screen. £30 million he were playing for him on Sunday. What it? I can't remember who it was.
They bought a couple for 30 million.
And we're only 3 behind them.
So Seri cost about 35, didn't he, from France, the French midfielder. So just to finish off the tweets on my point, I know we've sat there, I feel a bit self-indulgent talking about my little rant, but Alfie Kennedy says, I've been looking to promote youth for the rest of the season. At least they'll have the motivation of wanting to prove themselves that the more experienced players don't seem to have, which concurs with what you said, Neil, and I've come around to that way of thinking now. And the final one is just from George Estros, I don't know if that's your real name, George. Says, Lerber contracted till next season, then moving back to Germany, only wanted a stint here, won't move on from here for only a year. So if we've got Chris Lerber for a year, I'll be reasonably happy with that in the Championship, to be honest. So Huddersfield 0, Bournemouth 2. Who wants to talk about what was a wonderful day for us?
Not me.
No.
So I had to remind myself, because I after that game, I was absolutely
I've
livid.
thoroughly blanked it.
Radio Leeds, our first caller on after an hour. It was just like a rant that you'd probably get on TalkSport, but wow, it were this is the Bournemouth who had lost 9 on the road. So, but
and they won that in first gear.
But I just knew though, Matt, that they had the pace, and obviously it was Callum Wilson's first game back, and it's the first time I've ever seen a chested goal. Although some people, I think you said, when it Mooney against Brighton, and there were another one.
Mooney was thigh, I think.
He could have gone for a pie, gone for a pint, run back down the south stand, and come back and chested it in and that as well. It was just diabolical, as I say.
I wanted to see when the Bournemouth team was announced. Ryan Fraser was supposed to be injured. Callum Wilson was supposed to be injured, and I think Josh King. And I went into that thinking we've got a chance of winning here. And then I saw them on the team sheet, and I was like, "Oh, for God's sake!"
Didn't. It's quite funny. Someone mentioned
anything stop.
I'll be honest.
Stop going wrong.
They'd have beat us without them 3 that day.
There's a guy keep tweeting me, and it's funny because Brighton were on a stinking run. Huddersfield come to town, win. Bournemouth on a stinking away run. Huddersfield come to town, win. And I just had to laugh the other day. Crystal Palace in free fall. They're out of the cup. They lost to Brighton.
Got us on the horizon. Guess
hang on a minute, lads. Just stick in there because March the 30th. Yeah.
Guess who's coming to town?
Yeah, guess who's coming to town. But yeah.
So for Bournemouth, I had to remind myself of what I tweet. I tried to stay off social media because I was absolutely seething with that performance, especially from one or two of them.
I think Sievert was as well. His comments were proper.
He was fuming. He was fuming after Brighton, and he was fuming after Bournemouth as well. And my comment was, I shouldn't be annoyed, I should expect it, but that performance was completely unacceptable, completely void of any effort, thought or craft. Thoroughly naffed off with some of the more experienced pros, pulling out of challenges and continue to let the club and supporters down. So very similar to what I'd said previously yesterday. I'm not going to start pulling players out again because we all know who I'm talking about. But that first half was probably one of the most boring first halves. Neil's blanked it from his memory. No one can remember what happened. We just know.
What about one of the funny ones? Me and Scoffer, who people will probably know from the North Side. There was I can't remember the exact incident, but we got in the box. Well, it stank of it. Someone shot against someone, and it hit one of our guys and went out for a dead ball in the second half. I can't remember one. We were just laughing. They were just like, this is what it's.
It was either Stankovic against somebody or somebody against Stankovic.
Yeah.
Stankovic's left foot shot where it took him 5 minutes to line it up.
Yeah. One of our players and just trick out for a goal kick, and we was like, someone fell over. It was some comedy moment.
I have genuinely blanked the game from memory.
Yeah.
It was that bad. That was as bad as it got this season. That was just grim.
Yeah.
I know Philip Billing got dragged off at half time, didn't he, after a bit of a shocker, but I thought there were 2 worse performances than him on the field. Both in the back 4. I'm fed up of naming them. One of them, I was waxing lyrical at the start of the season, thought it was excellent, been at a World Cup. Diabolical. It did all right against West Ham, but diabolical. It's absolutely
Philip Billing had a shocker, but there were no bigger shocker, and unfortunately we made national headlines by that. There's no words for that tweet. Oh, not sorry, that Instagram message. Absolutely vile. I don't care who it was. It was absolutely disgusting.
I'd just say fair play to Southern Terriers for that banner that they held up in support of Philip Billing at West Ham.
I thought the club were really good on it.
Great touch.
They were very quick, very active, and put it in the
That's what I want from
in.
my football club. Stamp that out. I know that. I think this kid's only 16, is he? So he's not a fully formed adult, and there's no excuse for the language he's used. But I think hopefully in his case, hopefully he'll be educated correctly on.
And well
his
done for
views.
Billing for putting it out there. A lot of people wouldn't have put that message there. That they just kind of just shrugged their shoulders.
He handled it perfectly to Philip
Yeah.
Billing.
I'm really pleased he didn't go on a massive rant about it. I'm glad he just put the
Thumbs down.
thumbs down and let the authorities and club deal with it.
But because
Well
of the
done.
Premier League, that was massive. That went viral, went global. That's a stain on society, really. You don't really want to put it on this, but yeah,
I don't think that tarnishes club at all. I've got to be honest. I just think that's people know that unfortunately with social media, the times that we live in, there's a lot of idiots who've got license to type what they want and send it where they want, and unfortunately Philip Billings' story was very small, and it'll be overshadowed by others, and
I think
but it doesn't make any of them
probably,
right. It's pathetic.
One thing we should probably say is that at targeting players, I know we've all mentioned a few players, haven't we, today that we believe are letting the club down, but at no stage would any of us condone messaging them personally with any form of abuse.
I've said it on
on
Twitter. I said, I mean, if you're really getting dug into players on Twitter and you're atting them, just don't. Have your rant. If you want to say the name, but don't at them so you know that they've seen it. Don't go direct at people to slate them. And I've got to be honest, up until last month or so, I wouldn't say anybody's been poor on purpose. I think the fact that we aren't good enough and the fact we've lost so many games has contributed so much to that. And some of them just want out now. And to be honest, if you're at work and it's going so bad for you, there'll be a lot of people in other jobs who would want out of their job as well, to be honest.
I think there's a bigger conversation to be had regarding the language that's used against certain players as well. I don't think maybe some supporters are ready for that conversation, so we're not really going to linger on it too much. But there are certain things used against players which are just so stereotypical and aren't true. Just knock it off. Just knock it off. We'll move on.
If we won, it'd be like Philip Billings got a screamer like at Cardiff, or Philip, you're brilliant, and all this. Like I just modern world and social media. It just goes by game by game, doesn't it? There's no
thing is, it's not.
It's crazy.
It's not a football thing. It's a society thing.
Yes.
Yeah. I just. Anyway.
Yeah.
Moving on.
West Ham.
Who can't look at what's happening at the fantastic media stand end. Moy with the penalty. It's saved. Quana scores with the rebound. Colin Quana following up the penalty. Slides it in from the narrow angle. Bring the moment, Colin.
So
We've chatted pretty much about
3-1 up at West Ham. Lost 4-3. I don't think there's much more to really say on that. Jan Zever, prior to Bournemouth, is going on about lack of collective responsibility, and I think we've seen that in spades, going 3-1 up from Bunchan's miss. A bit frustrated. If we'd have won that 4-3, it'd have been amazing, but obviously we haven't.
I'll tell you what's telling. I spoke to 2 or 3 people who went, and they were buzzing, and we've lost. And they said the moment when Grant scored, it was just absolutely brilliant. It were worth.
Let's
the
talk
trip
about
down.
that Grant goal.
So
instead.
it's just
that deserves talking about.
Let's talk about Karlan Grant's goal rather than just.
both
Let's
of the
talk
goals.
about Karlan
Let's
Grant.
talk both of the goals. The first goal, such a fox in the box poacher's goal. We've been desperate for a guy like this. I don't want to get too carried away, but obviously goals, but that was just like a mucky, scruffy goal.
Well,
like Jordan Rhodes put him for fun in his time at Huddersfield. We've never had anyone like
In
that.
half an hour of football, he's outscored all of the strikers on books this season.
Yeah, it was class, man.
Move
This
on.
is a guy that's hungry to succeed, and this is what's frustrated me. Again, typical Huddersfield, maybe a criticism of Seaver, but we were saying it, Neil. We got a guy 14 goals for Charlton. We know it's League One, but the guy's hungry, he's scoring goals at his level.
Yeah.
Put him
Players.
in the team, man.
Yeah.
Put him in, as other strikers are absolute garbage.
He did put him
and
in,
they
what
put
you
him
on
in,
about?
and boom, he gets 2 goals. And it's so frustrating. We're always Huddersfield.
The frustrating thing about
Yeah.
Grant was the fact that he got the goal given. The club went to great lengths to get that goal against Arsenal given. You built him up. He's got a Premier League goal. Don't play next game.
If we've got
It's-
strikers
it-
score
that's
8
the-
and
that's
10
the
goals,
frustration.
Who are you
It's
up
that.
against? Laurent Din, 0-goal Poitre, Steve.
And anybody, any striker in the Premier League would have been delighted to score that second goal that he got on Saturday. That was top
It
draw.
was one of those beautiful moments,
It was
like when you're watching
brilliant.
like Leo Messi or someone. I know it's mad, but like, woo, you know, you just
Great turn, great
It
roll.
was the turn, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then he's had the confidence then to take it on
Yeah.
and stick it in top bag. I mean, that's
I'll tell you
brilliant
what, though,
goal, brilliant.
It just felt like, I mean, look, obviously, how do you know how he feels? But it's almost like it didn't surprise him because that's what he can do. You know what I mean? I looked at the guy and thought, this is what I'm about.
He actually ran off with a bit of arrogance about him, didn't he?
This is what I'm about.
That's what
Carl
you
Grant,
want, yeah.
you know, should have been in before, but he's made his name and it
Can't leave him out now, can he?
The trouble is, we were always going to seize on anything mega positive this season, but
Well,
it excites me for next season.
To be fair,
Yeah.
it sort of sums up this season, the fact that that's already up there in probably top 3 or 4 moments of this season.
Yeah,
is.
Moyes free kick, and that's about it. Isn't it?
And, you're clutching, but it should have just been another goal in this season of a decent season, but the fact that it is so high up. But yeah, brilliant goal, well done, lad. Nice to see a kid like that coming to the Premier League and...
The TV
Get a
camera
couple
angles are
goals.
shocking at that West Ham ground. So when you hit it, when you watch it on TV, you just thought, "Ooh, it looks alright." Shot this, but knowing us, you're like, it's going to flash. And then when it hit that net, it's just like, wow! It must have been
Great
stunning to be in that away. And even for the misery, that's just like class. So 3-1 up, no problem. 3 points. West Ham fans pouring out of the ground, sticking their bubbles up their derriere, and. It reminded me a little bit, obviously.
Dreadful football song is that?
Rotherham, when Rotherham played Town over that Christmas when it snowed, and Town won it 2-0 up, and Rotherham came back.
2-2.
Yeah, and Grant Holt got injured and what have you, and that as well. But I remember like 89 and 90, and they came back in the ground. Everyone's like giving it big licks, where you been? But yeah, a lot of West Ham fans were gone, weren't they?
Yeah.
And then
I think they go early anyway, because if you've been to
Yeah,
West
it's
Ham,
awful to
getting
get
out of
away
West
from.
Ham is
It's a
horrendous.
shambles.
Horrendous.
It's not a football ground.
I've been for the athletics, it's great. I've been
Yeah.
for the football,
And
it's
that's what it
dreadful.
were built for.
Yeah.
So he did a great report. He was kind of mentioning back in the old days, you walk down Green Street and you look at the markets, looking who's going to target you, and it were intimidating. He says, now you come out of that. I remember last year that Stratford Shopping Centre,
Yeah,
there's Lewis
Westfield.
Butt and there's
It's nice, Westfield.
Benetton. Yeah, but that's
We went there before game last season.
it's just that's just what modern day football's about, isn't it? We're going past like shops and department stores to grounds.
It's a dump. It's just not a football ground. It's awful.
Yeah, them bubbles things.
It all feels temporary. The seating, I know we've
It
got
is.
the FML, don't we? It's all temporary. It's just
Yeah, and we're on about our crowds like being manufactured. 59,000. What were it? 3 or shut up, man.
everyone does that now. It's one of the things in
embarrassing,
football.
isn't it?
It's one of
Yeah,
the things
just
in
be
football,
honest.
isn't it?
Yeah.
Everybody.
Tickets sold, not bums on seats.
Yeah.
The club down the road are the worst out there from.
But with that
They
big
are
a draw,
indeed.
there's a guy, one of the guys storms on the pitch to celebrate their win, isn't it? Against little old Huddersfield. Have a word with yourself,
Who've
pal.
scored 3 goals all season.
Moy round the outside of Johnny Otto of Wolves. Early cross, deflected by defender. Carlin Grant up the line. Goal, Steve Mounier! Goal, Steve Mounier! The roof has just nearly come off the John Smith Stadium. Jan Siebert is poised to gather his first win as Town head coach on the back of the best performance since he took charge. And Huddersfield Town have just forced the ball over the line. Willed on by the deafening noise of the home crowd. It's Huddersfield Town 1, Wolves 0.
So
Anyway.
we've talked about Jonas
Positives.
Lössl a little bit. Stories come out today, which from Tribal Football. Don't know if they've got anything about them. Don't think they have.
Wop ball.
There's some. They've kind of rehashed a link, haven't they? And then added some quotes. They've quoted Jonas Lössl, but I can't find these anyway, so I'm not taking this particularly seriously. And if you've made this up, Tribal Football, you're a bunch of absolute whoppers. And
As if they'd say this, though. Come on, Matt, read it
The-
out.
It's not a Lossell quote. This.
it's not. It's not what it would do. It
absolute
doesn't
guff.
feel like what it would say. I know.
It's guff. I expect to lose him, but this is guff.
So Huddersfield Town goalkeeper Jonas Lössl has welcomed transfer interest from France. Olympique Marseille and AS Monaco have been linked with Lössl. To be fair, they're 2 great clubs to be linked with, and I'm sure he would be excited. Quietly.
Balotelli, that must be fun.
And the 30-year-old said, "It's an immense honour. These are huge clubs. It is then a great interest." This proves that I have worked well in France and in recent seasons, and that I can use this to springboard to take a step that I have always wanted. I feel like I showed I have the level. I feel that I have played 2 good seasons, so I am proud. It's not just my choice. Someone needs to agree with me too. I hope that is the case. Both clubs look exciting, and I'm delighted with the interest. I cannot wait to see what happens. That just does not strike me as a Jonas. Jonas Lössl carries himself far better than what those clubs...
Playing in France, what?
The 2 great clubs to play for, historically, both great. Can you imagine living in Monaco? I'm sure he'd be loving that.
Absolute pinch of salt.
He's probably saying, God, if Mooney gets all them goals in France, then Stan can't be up. That's why I'll probably look like David Day. You know?
But one thing to flag up is Jonas Lössl signed permanently last summer. It does seem that, again, it's the option to buy thing. And what's confusing is that he's only got 1 year contract. He's out of contract in the summer. So it appears that what's happened is that the club has taken over his contract from Mainz, not so much created a new one for him. He appears to have turned down a contract offer from us in the summer, according to my sources on Down at the Mark, which I should take with a pinch of salt. But, you know, you can obviously find 1 or 2 decent people on there who've said this. So apparently he's turned down a contract offer in the summer. I think he's leaving. I think I'll be really sad because I like Jonas Lössl. I think he's solid. But a 30-year-old Danish international, could you expect to see him in the Championship next year, Kosi, or do you think that's it? He's on his way?
You know what? I didn't realise they were out of contract, to be honest with you. That was my only hope, really. But it's really difficult. I don't know. He seems to love the area. Obviously, some of his Instagram posts really fetch him. You know, kind of dogs for a walk, fields, really warm to the Huddersfield public.
Family man, isn't he?
At that age, though,
he's coming into his prime, isn't it, for a goalkeeper?
Yeah.
If he's got the choice of Championship with Huddersfield, there's no guarantee he will bounce straight back.
The big thing is, though, Matt, there's a lot of teams now, and Burnley you mentioned earlier on, but so many good keepers, but would he want to just sit on someone's bench? That is the only thing, isn't it? Would you rather be first choice?
I don't know if players think like that. Every player seems to have some kind of... They all seem very competitive and very super self-assured and confident. I think most players think they're going to go there and they're going to play. And
it depends what you're told, though, doesn't it? But, you know...
If the offer comes in and they're going to say, look, you're going to be number 2 until someone gets injured, then that's different. But I think a lot of players think, you know what, I fancy my chances.
I just wondered if a few of our players, like we are, to be honest, are thinking, right, are we going to have a real good go at trying to get back up? Or is it we're going to cut us cloth? Or we're going to really spend 50 million? Or I think it must be a tough one for a player, because I don't know about you, Neil, but they must be hearing the same, that, you know, maybe Dean's selling up and new players are coming, you know, new signings and you know, things like that. But what would you do, mate? I don't know. It's really difficult to know if we're going to have a stab at going back up.
Who knows? It's impossible to know what's happening at club. We don't know. Obviously, we're mentioning about
Jonas Lössl, what you know now.
If I'm Lössl, if I've got a chance to stay in a top league in Europe, I'm going. It's as simple as that.
That's what you said right at the start of this podcast, Kosi, about footballers and the brutal honesty. I think that's going to be the brutal truth, that Jonas Lössl will not play for us next
He's
year.
One of the very few in this squad that I'd be absolutely delighted if he was in our goal at the start of next season.
Yeah,
I mean, he gets a lot of stick from some people. I don't really get it. If he's our goalkeeper next season, we've got best keeper in Championship.
I'll say one thing. Jonas Lössl is the best goalkeeper Huddersfield Town have had since World War II. Don't give me Terry Poole. I've seen the videos. He wasn't that great. I know a lot of people say Terry Poole, David Lawson, great goalkeepers. Look, goalkeeping's completely different now to the 1970s. Yeah. Jonas Lössl is the best goalkeeper Huddersfield Town have had since the 20s, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I think it's hard to... This may be a debate for another. I think it's hard to say because the rules have changed a lot, and you know we did his old podcast with Tim Clark, but I'm not sure on that. But all I'd say is I won't want to lose. I won't want to lose him. But what you've said tonight, I didn't know that. I think, I'll be amazed if it's between the sticks August.
And he is one. If he does leave in summer, which I think he will, if he is one that does go, I think you just all sit back and say thanks very much, because you know for a fact that while he's been at Huddersfield Town, he has given everything to the cause.
Chelsea, where they ought to be a picture put somewhere.
Absolutely,
that's a legendary moment.
That is the it is. It is.
It's that save is
so
the most
Lossell,
outstanding
if
save.
he moves, good luck, son, and thank
the
you.
thing is,
But please stay.
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because a keeper's value is probably going to look, when you're losing every week and facing shot after shot like we have, he's kind of going to, as long as you make some decent saves and what have you, you're going to come out of it a lot more credit. I suppose like Bakuna is as well, and Stankovic, but his value has probably gone up in our bad moments, really. In that
His wage value will have him. Sadly, he'll be going for free. Won't he?
Yeah. And there we go again, search for a keeper, which, as we know in the past, is not as easy one. But
we do have 3 on the books. Ryan Schofield seems to be doing quite well. Let's just gloss over that mistake he made at Carlisle.
Yeah, we won't count that
They
one.
won the game, thankfully. He's doing really, really well at Notts County.
But he's not ready for Championship
Stay
football.
there.
Have another year
Ryan.
at Notts County
Or League One.
wherever.
Or maybe another season in League Two with someone like Bradford.
Yeah.
hey!
And yes, quite happy with that one.
Yeah.
So Coleman for me went to. I'm not being a fan of Coleman's. I genuinely haven't. It just seems really big and clumsy to me. His distribution with his feet's not great.
He went
not
to
my
Shrewsbury,
kind of goalkeeper.
played first few games and then
Got
couldn't
dropped.
get into team.
Yeah, he's not my kind of goalkeeper. I don't know. I think he's got another year on his contract. So he
And
might
it's a
be
big
here.
call when he's not played any football for pretty much a full season to chuck him into Championship football next season.
So which leaves us with Ben Hamer, who's still under contract. And Kosi, you said you had a mate who's a Charlton fan, didn't you? Who said Ben Hamer made a bit of a patchy start at Charlton, but then recovered to be quite a decent.
Yeah, he did, and obviously, I just remember him in that promotion battle with League One when
He was decent.
Yeah, it was decent, but the trouble is, Town fans will they give him an opportunity?
No.
That's it.
But
isn't
more
it?
importantly, we'll see it, and it's kind of feels that ship might have sailed, but yeah,
It's you can always. The thing is with football fans, as a goalkeeper, if you save a penalty or you produce a match-winning performance early on, then he could turn it round. But if he goes back in next season, makes a few more mistakes, then no one will want him there, and it'll be difficult for him to be in goal for us. But
If Lossell goes, the fact is we need to go out and get a goalkeeper.
yeah.
I
It's as simple
genuinely,
as that.
I go and get 2. I don't think I would keep.
Well, yeah.
I don't think I would keep Coleman and Hamer, to be honest. But if they're under contract, it's easier said than done, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
It's not Football Manager. It's difficult.
Forward, but he can't win that ball. He's going to chase the keeper down. He's charged it down. And he's scored! Hayford has just scored for the most bizarre goal you'll ever see. The goalkeeper raced out of his area to clear the ball. Hayford charged it down. It's hit his back and it's bobbled in. And Town have got what they deserve.
So moving on from Jonas Lössl, there's 3 fans of his here. Neil, you have posted a Twitter question on the Andy Takes That Chance Twitter feed.
He has.
I did. I just put, what do Town fans think of the impact relegation will have on the fan base? Not necessarily in numbers, but in attitude. I think I'm somewhere in the middle, and the transfer window will tell us a lot.
So we'll move on. Well, not move on. That's it, Neil. Your time's up now. So from that,
Pointless, wasn't it?
So from that, Neil, Sean Jarvis then subsequently tweeted about half an hour later, after you've posted that question to me, said that that we are 1,500 season cards short of selling out. I think it said, which
the limit's 18,000 in it.
I think it's 18.5 possibly, which indicates around 17,000 season tickets sold, which is amazing.
It's excellent. To be fair,
It's incredible. I was hoping to get one for my little boy, who obviously was not on the list, but he might have to wait another year, and if he does, then fair enough. But it's an incredible amount. But I think what your question is, what is the attitude going to be like from those fans? Are they going to be like
because
Premier
obviously
League
when
fans?
we went up, everyone's buzzing. Throughout last season, regardless of what happened, everyone was still buzzing. Obviously, we stayed up how we did. Ridiculous, but brilliant. And then this season, it's been... I mean, you can't fault the fans how they've stayed with the team, considering we've seen...
I think they've been magnificent, yeah.
Yeah, the fact that we've had pretty
apart from the
much
social media element.
zero entertainment at home games, very little entertainment at away games. It's been devoid of excitement pretty much all season, and that's not being harsh, that's just fact.
That's what it is.
And I think, where the fans' attitude's going to lie, what I really meant is, so going into next season, are we all thinking, pretty excited about it? Are we looking at a top 6? Are other people a bit more pragmatic, thinking, re-establish yourself at that level, get a team settled, sort of mid-table-ish. Other people I've seen are thinking, are we going to do a Sunderland? You know, it's you don't know, do you? It's impossible to tell. I lie somewhere sort of in between, where it probably a bit more pragmatic. I'd love to see us challenging top 6.
So I'm with
if
you.
we were somewhere sort of 10th to 12th, 13th, I'd be.
So I'm with you, Neil. I think the transfer window will tell us a lot. Kosi, you mentioned the ownership issue. There are rumours circulating, which we're not going to go into too deep because we all love Dean Hoyle and hope he stays. But if he makes a decision which is best for him, then fair enough.
I think for me, Matt, is I want to click the turnstile and I think Huddersfield Town can win the game of football that I'm going to be watching and paying my money for. That has long gone. And obviously we're like, wow, 3 goals, wow, you know, Wolves, unbelievable. I remember sat having a drink off that game. This is unbelievable. We've won a game. And a bit embarrassing, really. So I just want that hunger to come back. And it's not for me about challenging that. I'm pretty sure most of the, 18,500 we're probably going to have, they'll expect us to, I think majority of them expect us to come back. Would you think that's a fair comment?
I think they expect us to be
challenging for their playoffs, and then
I think they expect a challenge, but not necessarily promotion. I think. Yeah. I think a lot of them. I think a lot of them will be disappointed as well.
Yeah, if they've signed up for that. Yeah,
I think there's a lot of sorting out for the manager to do, and what I was going to say is that an ownership thing will complicate that to an extent as well.
Owner, director of football, manager.
I just look forward to enjoying the football again.
It's a massive, massive summer because if we don't do this one right, we've completely blown what we did getting into the Premier League.
We've got 3 years of parachute payments, haven't we? I think it'll take 1 year to sort things out, possibly. I know he's trying now and there are players standing, but I think it might take a while to sort through a lot of things. If Jan Zivert gets a free run, gets the money, we have a director of football, we've got a recruitment team. If we can shift out those that we don't want to be and who don't want to be here and bringing people who do want to be here, they're leaders, they can play what Jan Zivert wants to do, then we've got every chance. But I think there's going to be a sorting out process, and it's not as easy as it being said that you can just push players out the door because they've got contracts and expensive contracts. There's going to be a bit of a transition period, I think, and then maybe the second season we'll see us.
I think what's going to be so interesting for 2 seasons now, obviously we've gone into games, you know, thinking, God, anything's a bonus, or hope we can do it. But obviously, when, like, for example, Luton next season, then people are just it's a win at all costs. Yeah. That's going to be a different kind of pressure, really. We're going to go a lot of games and think, we should be winning this, we should be winning that. And as you've seen with this year's championship, it's quite incredible what's kind of happening, because all of a sudden, like, kind of, Preston, who were miles out of it, they're knocking on the door of getting in. Much has been said about kind of the quality of the football, but Leeds and Sheffield United really come from nowhere. I think
I'll be honest, I didn't see Sheffield United being up there where they are. 7
clean sheets in a row. It's just unbelievable, isn't it? So it just shows you. God, it sounds like you're disrespecting them, but it wouldn't take a right lot. But from me thinking in February, January, it needed a few tweaks. It sounds like is it going to be a major overhaul, and it's so hard to comment at the moment and then throw in, will Dean still be here and what have you and stuff. I'm just looking forward to competing and enjoying the football and thinking we can win games, which has long since gone.
I think you look at the top 3 in the Championship now. I don't think they're the 3 best teams in there, but what they've got is they've got momentum. All 3 of them have got a brilliant manager.
Yeah.
And they've got a bit of belief and momentum and fire behind them. And the 3 best teams on paper are probably Aston Villa, West Brom, Stoke, but they're nowhere near because they've not got the right attitude, and that's what for me we need to get right.
Villa are just getting a bit of a roll together now, possibly
at
right time.
They
that
could.
Sheffield United team, it's like incredible.
If I ended up in playoffs, and Villa ended up in them.
Martin Craney's playing first choice Sheffield United at the minute. Yeah. Those 3 teams I don't think are pretty much mid-table. You put an average manager there, and those 3 sides are mid-table for me.
But the thing is, for me, Matt, and Chris Wilder is kind of moving on to Championship here, but the mental strength, you're on about their grit and strength. They blew that game at Villa where they were the laughingstock of world football. And I remember Gaz Jones, I'm going to out here, Gaz, put a tweet. That's why Sheffield United won't go up. They haven't got the mental strength. They haven't got the mental. And I called him out on his Saturday.
Did he say they were yellow? Because that's one of Gaz's favourites.
He didn't come back at me, but... And then they've come off the canvas like that on a blow, and I thought that's it now. They're probably going to fade out, maybe even lose the 6. And they've come back and like 7 clean sheets in a row. It's all about, like you say, having the mental strength and the battle.
Bloody good manager.
As we know, when we got up, we had exactly that because we were not good to watch. really, we were at times. We weren't sexy football, but we had that will to win and desire, and we were pretty strong defensively, which obviously different to this season. So that we've got to get that back with
I've
the
seen a lot of
wheelings and
reports
dealings.
about how they've gone and basically bored everyone to death at Leeds on Saturday.
Yeah, but
They're 8 games.
Yeah,
from possibly
Leeds had
getting
all the
it.
possession. Like
But
yeah,
they're 8 games from getting it Premier League. A 1-0 win away at your biggest rival at that point. That's a stunning result. I was actually in Leeds at the time, but I was.
But it's just like, again,
saucing up.
the division's so exciting because all of a sudden there's 2 playoff spots become available. Middlesbrough are in a free fall.
Yeah.
You've got
Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah,
are
Sheffield
on a roll,
Wednesday is absolutely incredible. They've got to go to Leeds, I think, in a few weeks and stuff. It's just Sheffield Wednesday just.
They were 15th last time.
Yeah, Steve Bruce again, mate. He's just a top manager. You know,
It just
despite what people
shows
might
if you
think.
can get on a roll, you get a good manager, then anything's possible in that league. So
Watching on Pretty Embers,
That's what
with
gives you
exciting
hope for
seasons
next
these
season.
guys.
Looking at it, because it's.
Yeah,
I mean, you've said it all along, Matt. It's not a great league quality wise, but it's an exciting league quality wise.
you get some quality. Yeah, don't get me wrong. You get some quality players, but you don't get 11 in the one team. Yeah. I think let's hear what Twitter has to say, Neil, about your lovely tweet. So,
out of the 3 questions, to be fair, I think I got biggest response, which is not really a surprise, it lads.
but I got the most likes. if we want shallow validation,
Whatever.
right, Neil. So in response, and you feel free to fire into some of these. So Freddie Cocker says we get rid of a lot of the players who didn't want to be here and get in new fresh blood to re-energise the dressing room and complement the likes of Bakuna, Grant, etc. We'll be fine. A post-summer transfer window, I'll be very worried indeed, as Jan Ziva isn't going to be a patsy.
Whichever way we look at it, it's going to be a big turnover.
And Ollie, friend of the show, says you should be banned after your language towards some of our players on Saturday, Freddie. So, Freddie, be ashamed. Elliot says, think a lot of fans will be won over or lost depending on how much impetus and ambition is shown in the summer transfer window. If Ziva isn't back sufficiently, I can see some fans falling out of favour. I think that actually is a really good point in that we need to... What I was saying a few weeks ago is I want us to go down and show a sign of intent by... we maybe not need to do this now, Karlan Grant's doing so well, but I want us to go down and sign a decent striker. The first thing Burnley did when they went down is they went and got Andre Gray. They paid the money, went and got Andre Gray. I want us to put the big boy pants on and act like we've got the parachute money.
Like we mean it.
If we go down and we sign somebody on a free to back up Karlan Grant, then fans are going to say, well, they're not going to give this a go. But if we go and... I know, Kosi, you don't think it's possible, but if we go down and... We'll throw his name in, he maybe, possibly, may not. But if we sign somebody like Che Adams, all of a sudden people are all of a sudden thinking, hang on, we mean business here. And these are the players that you've got to go down and you've got to make an attempt to sign someone like this. Otherwise, the fans are probably going to go, we've got all this money, but what are we going to do with it? But anyway... Paul Dobbins says, a mindset of a lot of fans needs to change. Too many talk about being glad to be back in the Championship. Premier League's corrupt, referees are rubbish. We have to keep moving forward and settling for mediocrity will never work. It will harm the club.
He's got a point there. There is too much sort of I'm happy when we go down kind of talk.
I'm not. I want to be in the Premier League and I want to compete.
I'm not disappointed we're going down. I'm disappointed how we're going down.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference. Like if we'd have gone down last season, would have gone down in...
We'd have gone down swinging.
Blaze of glory. We'd have gone down having a goal and fighting, whereas this season, we've just whimpered.
I said this a few weeks ago, but if we'd have gone down last season, I think we would have been in a better position.
I think we'd have probably come straight
to
back
bounce
up,
back.
Looking at that league this year as well.
Yeah. I think we'd have been in a better position to bounce back than what we may be next season, but we'll see what happens.
If I'd have told you Lauren would have not bothered putting the ball in back of net. It's all about having a spine for me, and you can see it coming through, which just got into here about obviously Lursel, but you've got Bakuna, you've got Grant, you've got Stankovic, you've got some stuff there to build around, haven't you, in that as well? It's not like a lost cause, and there are always going to be heroes coming through out of the wreckage.
It needs to be supplemented with like Sarone Daly, not built around.
It's hard to know, innit? Because obviously they're just getting a sniff of the Premier League, so they might, who knows, you know.
Rowe could be a weapon, to be fair.
Or a whopper. It was unfortunate with that penalty. He's obviously been a bit enthusiastic, so no blame or anything to Aaron Rowe. He came on against Bournemouth, Aaron Rowe, and did quite well and has done okay against West Ham as well. So again, he's picked up an injury, so we might not see him for a couple of weeks. So Matt Smith says, as random as this may sound, the way this season has panned out has probably watered down expectations for next season. I think the majority of fans haven't had chance to go massive, and there won't be a we should be beating the likes of attitude next season. Top 10 finish.
I don't know about that. I think
I hope that's true.
Oh, when we took rock up against Luton and Rotherham maybe and Reading and that. Oh, no doubt there will be. I think that'll be massive.
I think there will be some, yeah.
Huge, man. You don't get 17, 18,500 season card holders. Not.
You get a huge cross section of opinion as well, don't
people
you?
People will have it like Derby and Villa and what have you. But yeah, it'd be interesting. But just to be excited again and to look for. Honestly, we're just looking forward to May the 12th, aren't we? But there's other clubs that like so exciting this season. But we've had them seasons, so we suppose we can't. We were due a stinker.
Mark Harrison says, I think how we finish the season is very important. Fans are waiting for Zivert to install some confidence amongst the supporters. He is young and inexperienced. The jury is still out. We also need a director of football put in place soon, or clarity on recruitment from the club. So I think that's a good one, Mark. Michael Foster says, always quality over quantity. Away atmospheres will be far better if, and it's a big if, we manage to nick a playoff spot. We'll have had a very successful season, but I think we may need a season or so to steady the ship. Your mate Pozza the Rosa has been in touch, and he says numbers look to be okay from what the clubs say. Long-term fans will be realistic and probably expect a long stint in the Championship. Newer fans may have only seen success at this level, so expect to be challenging at the top. I personally reckon a top 10 finish next season. Craig Pickles says we should be a decent Championship team for a good number of years. The fan base will stabilise. We've grown from being a 12k club to a 17k in 10 years, and that's decent. My only problem with that is how many of those 17,000 are going to stay if we're mid-table in the Championship.
Not bothered, mate. See you later. Huddersfield Town forever, not just for the Premier League.
Dave Hay says that we should attract a better quality of academy player with the new facilities, meaning hopefully we don't have to rely on the transfer market as much.
Yeah, that was one thing I talked about. Finally, I thought they had planning permission and the green light ages ago, but it only just came through last week, didn't it?
The start, yeah. So the start last week.
I was quite surprised with that. But
happy days.
Yeah, we're off.
Craig Pickles then says closing the academy was a mistake. Young lads love representing their hometown team. Junior teams need to start again, even if it's not the academy. It's good for the community not representing United or City. Dave Hay says, know what you mean, but we weren't getting the quality through. Also like the idea of sending young prospects out to other local semi-pro clubs, which we've said before we quite like. Yeah. The way we've gone for the academy for me is fine, but again, you've got to recruit decent players, for it to work. You can't. I'm not going to be too critical of them because they're only young lads, but you need to really sort of be recruiting from decent clubs rather than offering trial. Aaron Rowe got released from Leyton Orient at 16. We've stumbled quite lucky there. He's come on a trial and done well, and we've picked him up and he's in the first team. Brilliant. You're not going to get too many of that. So we may need to go out and start buying a few players, in my opinion, for the academy. But we'll save that for another day. Chris CJG Terrier says, think the realistic among us will expect a rebuilding period, whether that takes a year or a few years. You think you'll be looking at Swansea squad more or less obliterated after relegation. Rebuilding, having hit and miss season, but may come back strong next season. May not mind. John Lamb says, I'm not sure that will be the case. Swansea overspent on poor players while in the Premier League. They had to have a fire sale. We're not in the same boat. Bob Farrell says, fresh start, team for life, not just the good times. I think you've just read that,
Bob.
Kosi. Steve Silent says, I may not be attending every game next season, but does not stop me supporting them. I do think that the stadium will still be at the same levels as now. Dale Marsden says, the attitude has to be set by the club. It's all well and good using the small dog analogy for a season or two, but you have to look above that and continue to grow. Look at Brighton, Watford, Burnley and Bournemouth as examples. Gamer James says, I don't think there will be an impact immediately. The fans will turn up in similar numbers for the first few games. A bad start will put paid to that, though. Massively important summer in the transfer window. Richard Green says, if numbers are to be believed, I would say we are likely to have more season ticket holders in the Championship than if we had stayed up. Premier League just got too boring and negative. Remains to be seen how many turn up each week, though. Miles Dixon says, I think if we can get a few wins early doors, it will reignite the interest for a lot of people. Couldn't care less about this season, which pretty much echoes what you've been saying, Kosi, as well. You're pretty much beam me up, aren't you, in terms of to the Championship?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Envious of all the, it must be 10, 12 teams battling for 10, 11 teams battling for promotion, and
it's a lot going for relegation.
It's the first time ever that I think that. Well, I don't know. We had some miserable mid-table mediocrities in League, well, Division 3 as it was then, but it's just been weird. 5 months of just, it's just weird, isn't it? Don't you think?
It's just been.
I know
depressing.
quite a lot of people, and probably people do who's listening, but they've missed kind of an odd home game. I mean, it says it all, doesn't it? Some of the seats that are missing, people are missing.
I think so. Terry of 1958 says, "I think the majority of Town fans will massively up for the team next season until we get hammered at home by Luton. Then all bets are off again." That's what you were saying, Kosi. Anthony Gummersall says, "Keep those who are putting in the effort. Keep a few favourites where possible and cash in where not. Buy some more players of the Grant ilk and put a few youngsters here and there. We play good football between both boxes already." And just to finish off, Neil, your points for you. We've had Jason Wilson being in touch about the season being painful. Jack Fallow says numbers will be fine, Eric. I don't think there will be a big drop, which the numbers automatically are saying that there's not going to be in terms of season cards purchased. Watson says
more about attitude really, and there's been some good points made, to be honest.
Yeah, just to finish, Watson says, "I think as long as we beat the likes of Rochdale pre-season, we have a token home game against a decent side, we'll have a large vocal positive
Like
crowd."
the Potter were outstanding, weren't they? Were like Ronaldo that match, but looks can be deceiving people.
Yeah. So Claire Hill says, "I think it depends on how the start of the season goes," and Will Shaw says the same thing. And Terrier 7N2 Mike says, "I'm totally flat about it. I don't see a massive turnaround of players, and the losing mentality will continue into the start of next season if we don't buy quality." So that's similar to some of the lines that we've gone on. So in terms of attitude, so I think most people are feeling quite refreshed there, Neil. I think that a lot of people are looking forward to it.
Are we still going to do this pod in the Championship? I think we're bigger than the Championship myself. What about you, Neil?
It's because Neil's already gone full BBC, haven't you, halfway through this season?
Oh, yeah, against Wolves who are... straight on to 6 or 6.
Just how it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it only rings when you're winning.
Batting with big boys now.
It only ring when you're winning, Neil. So have your back on.
Only ring when you're winning, that's okay.
I didn't even ring him.
Who did you want? Was it Robert Savage? Who did you speak to?
Savage.
No, it was Chris Sutton and Alistair Bruce Ball.
Wow.
He's alright, but Chris Sutton's an absolute
Chris
whopper.
Sutton's a whopper. Yeah.
Barnes with the flick, Johnson with the turn, Johnson with the goal, and the game turned on its head.
Kosi, you put a tweet out, and thankfully there weren't as many responses, so I don't have to read those out, but you've mentioned that Jan Ziva hinted about a big overhaul in his press conference last week. Are we that far off in your eyes from a challenging team in 2019-20?
Yeah, I think we discussed a little bit of it earlier, didn't we, about it's... I just thought it needed a bit of tweaking, but as kind of the games and the months gone by, like we've discussed earlier, I think some players have it's not for me, this Huddersfield Town business anymore.
I think the turnover is going to be a lot bigger than people are expecting.
He's just that hinted at it. I'm quite surprised, really. I think we're used to kind of managers saying nothing in his press conference. So when he said that, I was like, wow.
I put a list on Twitter the other week of people who I think will leave. And people were really shocked at it because it was so extensive. But I just genuinely think that it will be a massive, massive turnover.
I think there'll be a lot of upset.
And I don't think it's a bad thing.
Because I think let's be honest, we've been
it's
relegated.
They need to eradicate that
We've
attitude,
been absolutely dire, and we're going to be relegated by a ridiculous amount of points. So I suppose it's got to be, hasn't it, really? Yeah. It's got to be.
There's no whoppers this week, Neil. We're fed up of whoppers and weapons. Although you've
to be honest, probably just me for drinking far too much on Saturday.
Although you did out Aaron Rowe as a weapon a few minutes ago, but we'll apologise to Aaron Rowe.
Sorry, Aaron.
Do you want to give us a bit of a charity update for Huddersfield Street Kitchen?
Yeah, I did a bit of a fundraiser, raised £450.
Good work, Neil. Good work.
Which was excellent, and that's going to be going into buying a new gazebo. Because the other one got ripped apart by the wind 2 weeks ago. So new gazebo, new heavyweight gazebo going in. Should be with us by this weekend. And then other things, gas burners, gas bottles, disposables, etc. And we've also put in, preempting it a bit here, but we've also put in for some funding from the Town Foundation from the big sleep out that they did last Friday. Aimed at homeless people, and what a better way to do that than to help us with Street Kitchen, who helping homeless people on a weekly basis. So hopefully something will come of that. Even if it doesn't, the fact that they've done that and highlighted the issue and out there helping it is fantastic.
And remember as well, if you want to donate anything in terms of clothing, blankets, you say, Neil, are a big thing.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to donate, shoes, I suppose would be a thing. Coming up to summer, so any sort of items of clothing and
we are going to be looking at before long. Actually, this is going to sound a bit too soon, but we're going to start putting together some winter packs.
Oh, cool.
So that'll be a sleeping bag, thick pair of socks, woolly hat, t-shirt to go under your shirt, etc., etc. We're going to price those up, put them together where we can sort of get them Amazon donated or from a supermarket, and then
that'd be good.
Get people to donate a winter pack.
That'd be good. And if anybody wants to get involved or wants to donate anything, get in touch with Neil at Bradford Terrier or with the podcast at Takes That Chance.
Or even just call down on a Sunday, 12 till 3, outside McDonald's in the town centre. You'll see us there.
And great stuff. So to finish off in the last sort of 5 minutes or so, guys, I opened up to the wild, wild west of Twitter. A couple of questions, so we'll fire these through and then we'll call this a day. Elliot HDFC says, thoughts on Aaron Rowe? Mightily impressed with how he bounced back from conceding the penalty, showed temperament well beyond his age, linked up nicely with Pritch and Grant too. Thoughts on Aaron Rowe, Neil?
Bit of a weapon.
A useful weapon though, Aaron.
But I think he could be useful, yeah. Anybody who plays a behind closed doors game against Bradford's first team for our under-19s and Bags 2 is already off to a flyer.
I don't want to brag, but I reckon I could get one against those lot.
Possibly. I just like the fact that he's thrown him in. You know, there's been no messing about.
He showed no fear either.
No, absolutely not. No, he's chucked him in. And from going from under-19s football to Premier League football is one hell of a jump. And he's not looked out of place. You know, lad's got... there's a lot of potential there, and I'd like to see him get plenty more minutes between now and end of season, and obviously he's going to be a big part of the squad for next season.
Absolutely.
Good luck to him.
Keep it up, Aaron Rowe. Fantastic. Elliot says, how do you see the midfield shaping up next season? I think Stankovic at CDM and Bakuna have earned their places. That final spot is undecided for me. If O'Brien was to take it, we could have a very youthful, dynamic, energetic midfield prepared to be moulded to fit Sievert's ideology. I'm looking forward to seeing Lewis O'Brien back next season. I think he's potentially going to get player of the season at Bradford with a lot of the way they're talking about him there. Bakuna's earned the right.
That was funny though. Other week, wasn't it, that video that were doing around where he got owned by that. I can't remember.
It's a Luton player.
Yeah,
and he got
brilliant.
pushed in,
It was absolute class.
Sonny Bradley.
Yeah, it's tremendous one that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that
Instead of going down like everyone else would have done. Well done, Sonny.
turned into Bez from Happy Mondays.
It was brilliant.
Yeah, I'm interested to see him next season. I hope he comes back and we'll see. He seems to be that.
He actually did all right
box.
pre-season last season because he did pretty much all pre-season with the first team last year.
I tell you what made me laugh today.
He'd have probably got games this season.
And he went down like a lead balloon, but 5 months out. But he's coming back on Saturday. Running down the wing and the Sadford sing. Viva Sean Scano. He's back to save the day. 6 points off relegation. Come on, Sean. Do your Simon Baldwin. Get a new contract by having 2 good games between now and May. Hey.
I did tell a Bradford fan that Jack Payne will be a far better signing than Scannell.
He's not been playing him, has he?
He's always injured, isn't he? It's just sad, really. I think they've ruined his career.
I think he left O'Brien and Payne out on Saturday.
Yeah, this isn't a League 2 podcast. Come on, guys.
Was preparing.
Last time this happened in the 70s, we went all the way down. So
Yeah.
So midfield next season, Elliot. I think it's got to be Stankovic or Hogg.
Just get worried if Terry Dolan's announced as director of football.
We won the Yorkshire Electricity Cup, and now we're going up. Them were the days. Bradford pre-season. You remember that? Yorkshire Electricity Cup.
I used to enjoy those because there used to be a bit of competitiveness. I think we won it in 94.
I remember that first time in Fionora. We played in one of them games. God, it sounds like...
that was 89?
He burst on the scene. We're like, wow, this guy's incredible. He's got pace, power. He scored a mega goal. I can't believe Grimsby or
Can you remember... No, it was against Scunthorpe. And can you remember who was playing centre-back for Scunthorpe that day?
Oof.
Stuart Hicks.
Nope.
Rob Dewhurst.
Worse than Stuart Hicks and Rob Dewhurst. And he appeared on our Whoppers and Weapons team.
Mark Jackson.
No. He was actually in the team. Mark Jackson didn't get in the team. Gordon Tucker.
Oh.
Wow, what a well.
Yeah.
Oh.
I just remember being there as a really small kid and people laughing at him whenever the ball went near him. I'm just wondering what's going on here.
Yeah.
I think we've not been here too long, lads.
People asking if Lossell goes to France, who should we sign to get rid of him? But we'll see. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. Don't know who's available. Rob O'Connell, should this year's end of season awards be cancelled? Neil.
Oh, we're on spot here, aren't we?
I'm going to say no.
For those who've bought a ticket to go, no. But
there may be a few sheepish awards.
Let's be fair. What is it to celebrate? If we're being brutally honest, what is it to celebrate?
I don't think it should be cancelled, but I think it'll be low key.
Imagine top scorer is a
Zanka.
lad who's played 5 games after signing for $1.5 million.
He's still got to get one more to beat Zanka, though. He's still got to do it. I hope he does.
I'd had his Charlton goals on to make sure he got it.
I hope he does.
But top assister. Who's going to win that? Lossell, we won. You know what I mean?
Sievert.
I just don't. For me, I'd probably err on the side of binning it off this season.
I don't think you can bin it off. Just
I don't. You can't because people have bought tickets and it's an event that's selling.
But it's going to be. I wouldn't celebrate. I'd keep it a bit low key, to be honest, this year, and maybe just have Danny do a massive video that can just make people laugh, and then just put the rest.
You could, all he needs to do is pick up highlights at season, doesn't he?
Kosi, one for you from Tanzanian Terrier says, do we still keep the no limits mantra part of the Wagner evolution, or do we have a new mantra as part of the Sievert evolution?
Move on.
Yeah, Neil's just answered for me, yeah. No, it's fine.
Kyle Hay says, know your limits, which I thought was quite funny. Matt Smith says, why the sudden nostalgic loving for Alex Smithies' return from a minority of fans? We didn't even miss him when he left. Folk are putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 10.
Isn't it? People ask questions. He's an easy link. He's not playing at Cardiff and he's a local lad.
Exactly. And to be fair, he improved massively at QPR from when he played for us. He's coming to a good age. I think people are sort of thinking,
We'll see. We'll see what happens in summer.
Again, if Cardiff don't go down, then I think that's a tough one to do. But anyway. Tweak says, I'm starting to feel like we're gearing up for a big reshuffle of personnel. The impetus put on youth, the changes team selection. If we are going to lose big names, who do you feel we can keep, build a team around, and who is up for the challenge? Tough one to do. We kind of did that a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, you want to keep your likes of Moyes and Schindler's, but
it's not happening.
It's probably not going to happen, I'm afraid.
You're looking at, and people will shout me down for this, but you're looking at an exodus.
I think so.
That will be one busy revolving door. There'll be a dozen or more go.
I've even prepared the Bob Marley outro tune of Exodus for the summer as well.
There will be a dozen or more go, and I'll put my hat on that.
Claire says, which player would the team miss the most, leave the biggest hole if they left in the summer? Aaron Moy, for me. Al Schindler.
Aaron Moy, end of discussion.
It's more about Alex Smithers. Should we re-sign Alex Smithers if Lossell leaves? Potentially, but it'd be hard to do.
Good for penalties, wouldn't it? That'd be it.
Dan Peckett mentions about the injuries. Is Jan Zievert's training regime not working, given the fact that all of our main players are constantly injured?
I think a lot of injuries at this stage of the season, when you're doing so poorly, are probably a little bit exaggerated as well. I'd like to think if we...
Shock me, Neil.
I don't care.
I said that
it's just true. If we're in with scrap now, if we're who's third bottom? This is how much I've looked at it.
Cardiff, I think.
So if we're where Cardiff are now, and you've got within a few points of having a chance to stay up, there's players queuing up to play. They want to play. They want to be part of this. Want to be in that excitement, in that battle. But when you've been cut adrift since December, I'm sorry, but
there's one
they're
player.
Not brave enough to get.
If you look on Premier injuries, there's one player who missed 3 weeks ago with an illness. Then he had a foot injury. Then he had something else. It seems to change on a weekly basis, and I'm sceptical as to how injured he is. But we'll see. Well, I think you can. I think you can make up your own mind.
Let's be fair. Lad'll have a couple of building jobs on, won't he? A couple of conservatories getting
working overtime. Miles Dixon says, do we think we'll spend a decent amount in the summer or base the side largely on young players? We've kind of covered that already. Mike Terrier 7-2 says, if Grant carries on scoring, will Town cash in on him in the summer if a $5 million offer comes in?
$5 million?
He's already worth far more than that, Mike. I don't think, as long as Dean Hoyle's at the helm, that's not going to happen. I think the club actually can see. We've talked about
Let's be honest.
We've talked about Callum Wilson.
Carlin Grant was bought for next season. He wasn't bought to save us this season. We didn't play him until the end of January, and we were down by then.
I think if Grant keeps on going, we're going to look at 25 million, not 5 million. By the way, he's developing at the minute.
Yeah.
So, and the last one says, can you discuss why, even though we easily have one of the best I think this is for you, Kosi. Can you discuss why, even though we easily have one of the best atmospheres, maybe not of late in the league, why we've never really made it to a fortress or into a fortress?
I just think the ground's designed not to be a fortress. Simple as that.
A bit too far away from the pitch.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I'll be honest. To make it a proper fortress, you got to have a team to match it. When you're winning every week, and it becomes intimidating for other teams, not just because it's crowd, but because it's the team that they're facing.
I think it's the type of atmosphere, though, isn't it, as well? I think, do you remember when we lost to Millwall in the playoffs, and that atmosphere there was nasty? There was,
it was.
There were fans spitting at
We
Gary
had
Roberts.
Vuvuzela's that day, lads.
No, at their
Oh, no,
place.
that was another
Their
one. Oh,
place.
sorry, there.
At their place.
Well,
I remember the ball, every time the ball went out for our throw, and one of their fans would sling it back
Robert
as hard
Williams
as they
dare
could.
even go get ball for a throw-in.
No, and they...
that's Millwall.
That's it, and there's another atmosphere down the road whereby that can get quite nasty at times.
The only time I've ever known a really nasty atmosphere at Huddersfield was Huddersfield Bradford in the first season of the new stadium, when it were all centred around
Etienne Verviers?
Etienne Verviers, yeah.
Yeah.
Although, I'm trying to think of Kevin Gray, but we don't think we played them again, did we? We
when
played
Gordon Watson came back,
Oh,
that was quite a nasty one as well. When
they were
made his
proper
comeback.
hated there, but I think it's, God, we've commented before, it's incredible what the atmosphere that we churn out, to be honest with you, when there's so little to get enthused about, but hopefully that'll change kind of next season. We just saw the goal again before we came in, didn't we, the Grant one, but the joy and the fans, and that was just like, it didn't really mean anything in the bigger picture of life. The one question I'm going to ask you, my question now, if we finish above Fulham, will we get more money?
Yeah.
How
It's
much
about,
by?
it's only a couple of $100,000. I know
Is
it's
it?
only
Still more, isn't it?
Yeah, a couple. It's not like millions, but it's a few $100,000, which Championship level terms is quite good, but Premier League levels drop, isn't it?
Yeah, we'd have given out for $200,000 a few years ago.
To be honest, after this season, it would just be nice not to finish bottom.
I'd take that. I'd be quite happy.
Take that 19th, happy days. Well, boom, we'll
I've just got an issue of apology to any Watford fans. This I sat here in August, thought Watford are going to be really in the mix for relegation. They're having a right season, and they're going to Wembley for FA Cup.
All three of us said Watford would go down, didn't we? And Watford have made us look like absolute idiots as they sit there. Is it seventh?
They've had to try to
FA Cup semi-final.
Like idiots, haven't they?
So when it comes to doing predictions next season, I think we'll pass maybe on that.
Yeah.
We've been going for way too long here, so I think the only thing,
You think?
I'm just sending a tweet, sorry, Matt, about chopped up apples, whether they're better than normal ones. This is how much we've been going on for, I think.
Tell you what, Kosi, put your phone down, sing a song, and let's get out of here.
Yeah.
I'll attribute to an old striker of ours. And love, let's get together and feel alright. Peter and Love, if we'd have signed you, we'd have stayed up. Trevor Francis,
Whopper.
Is this the moment for Lee Fowler? It is. Take your place in Division 2, Huddersfield Town.
He's missed. Steve Simonson clears the flame of the goal and collapses in a heap of tears.
Payne's got a chance. Payne scores. Jack Payne scores.
Heffel is in there.
Smith scores for Huddersfield Town. 3-2 Town. Forestieri. Danny Ward saves. De Quattro's in. Round De Gea. 2-0 Huddersfield Town.
Christopher Schindler has a chance to write his name in Huddersfield Town legend. And he takes that chance!